dynamic perspective is, the more harmonized our bodies, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies, the more harmonized these bodies, as so much so that they're vibrating as one body. So then this one body can fully experience all of the soul, the fullness of the soul. However, there's maybe some tension between, say, the heart and the mind. Ideally, you know, um, as it pertains to Soul for Sundays, we're saying perspectives. Soul for Sundays look to provide, share insight from our collective experience and experience of the esoteric teachings, so that we collectively come together and says, "Oh, it makes some sense." We gain clarity. So it's ah, and clarity is the unifying of, the dichotomies and separation of philosophies of why did this happen, and when that happens. Sometimes when we understand the laws and put things together, oh, we put things together more holistically. Hence, the pieces are now whole. We have peace because we see the wholeness, peace and wholeness, and that this peace and wholeness brings on now the being able to feel the fullness of the soul. So that's why it's Soul for Sundays. Again, not that the soul need to eat, because we souls as an essence, as a soul, we are the, a unique expression of the all, who chose a physical body to express that through and to experience creation. So this body, my person, is what we call my person, master chef, high priest, and shit like that. This body is experiencing. However, because of some people say the traumas, this, that, and the others, we may not be able to experience the fullness thereof, uh, to the degree that we're doing what somebody say the shadow work, the inner child work, releasing, releasing those things that have us afraid and doubting and worried. So just want to get a disclaimer about Soul for Sundays. We're gonna, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, so you said something about being able to hold the space, being so full of the soul that you are to me that sounds like being that you're holding the space. You expanded the space of the soul. Some kind of way the soul full, having a full soul to me seemed like holding the space. The bigger your space is, the bigger space that you can hold as far as having the hold on your soul,
Yeah,
the more pieces you can hold, or the more peace you can hold, or the more you can hold your peace.
yeah. Isn't that fair? And it's punny when you say it that way, and yet it feels quite accurate.
All pun intended.
There you have it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So again, so with that, we just say happy soulful Sundays. Yeah, now that we have a
So, in
also,
speaking of space and holding space, because, I'm one that has spoken about not only the astrological and the cosmological sense of it, that's to me the bigness of it, but the potential of us connecting to something that's in the ethers or in the stars. And I don't know if I can equate the ethers and the stars together, but I do in the case when I'm projecting my energy out. I consider that whole space is included into, whatever dimensions and whatever, yeah, I guess I could say multidimensional, the simultaneous occurrence of it in multiple places. So
right.
I send it out using that mindset. But, now thinking about, when rockets are going up, shuttles and space visitation, so when I'm able to consider from that perspective, that again, it pertains to the all, but it pertains to the all on an individual basis, meaning that I'm not trying to be a part of the all at that point, experiencing the all. I'm trying to be the individual that's experiencing the all or the vastness of the all.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just expanded the soul with in the process, because then in the process I can connect my soul to the journey, whether I'm on the vast level myself or I'm on the minute level experiencing the vast.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yay. Yay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whew, okay, so now as I grow my soul and I become a bigger um, viewer, my viewers are, look, my eyes, my third eye, my inner sky. If I continue to expand, all of that expansion is like, that's a deep rabbit hole. It's the more you activate all of the, like if this is a hologram, a simulation or whatever, if
Right.
our viewers, if our eyes, if our vision is, okay, let me back up.
Bag that thing on up.
Yeah. So it's like I just got a shot of energy that just blew it from my mind, and then and it kind of hurt my third eye when it happened. I
Yeah,
felt like
because
a Yusuf, like don't go too far too fast, don't do this, don't do that, because there's some things you're supposed to keep to yourself. Some things you can't tell to, I don't know if it's like the pearl to swine or what the comparison is, but just to say, like for instance, last evening I had a conversation with a group of people, and I shared with them that marijuana, remember we had this conversation about the tribe, the Dogon tribe, the African tribe,
right,
Dogons,
right,
saying that they were responsible for, first off, they're saying they're aliens, okay? They're saying they're not from here. They're not from this planet. They're from the Sirius star series A, B, and C,
right,
which, so A. But in any case, so they take responsibility for bringing marijuana here, and they bring it with purpose for us to be able to interpret signals. I don't, know if they consider them sacred or what the case is, but I have begun to say that to people. And, people, there are a lot of people who have no idea and have no, like, it turns a light bulb on in their heads. Like, that's what's going on. Like that's a possibility. Like last night when I said this to this group of, how many ladies was it, a chef? One, two, three, four, and yourself. You might not even have remember me saying this, but
yeah,
I mentioned it, and I got a few eyes opening, and a few folks that leaned in like they wanted to hear more. you know. So yeah, so that just comes to mind just to bring that, folks, you don't know, until as far as flipping the switch on to know that there's more to it. Like not just the superficial level of recreation or whatever. Like when we're playing and we're being like children, you know, you're not told how to enjoy playing. You're just, you're going to find all kinds of ways to enjoy and play, right?
yes,
But if you start putting in some kind of value system with that play, like for every shot that you hit up at the top, or for every time I saw a big pretty smile come up on your face, or for every time I see you laughing and giggling, you get a shot of adrenaline. And that shot of adrenaline is going to have you, interpreting life through the moments of joy. And I don't know. I'm just saying, you give the child something that they would enjoy to. but as an adult. So we learned how to go out and play. We play with this. It's a recreational thing. It's now supposedly available in recreational form without a major. Oh, I think I might have been leaning in a little far. I
Listen,
was leaning in myself.
we listen. Go ahead.
I don't know what you just said, but I did hear the go ahead at the end. So I was just saying I was leaning in on my own information. You see, I was trying to pay attention to myself. And I always have to go back and listen to things that I say when I do these programs because I say things that I don't always remember. And sometimes I think they're for me. A lot of times it's for me. More times than not, it is for me. So going back
Empowering.
and listening to myself does help me get added value out of my message and presentation. Ashe?
I tell you, and just to add to that, it is for you directly and indirectly. It is for you inside and out, implying that um, in that state of, some may say, channeling or mediumship, just being plugged in, where it's coming straight, no chaser, just from the uploads. You're uploading directly, just letting it, no filter. This is what source creating higher self. And all they said this right now. This is what's happening right now. Um, that's it's coming from a portal, and everyone from that portal it will resonate with. So it is for you directly, you, and also you outside of you who come from that same portal. What some may say your soul family, your soul tribe. The same as we have. Of course, the um, spiritual family in a sense. However, my person would is as it speak even as it speaks now. Is looking to get a distinction between biological family, spiritual family, and soul family, and that's a trinity right there. And it's so,
Mm,
so for my person, it is involved in the spiritual community. Yet, while being involved in the spiritual community, it has a soul family within the spiritual community that's even closer than the spiritual community, which the spiritual community is closer than the general population, including the biological family, unless the biological family is a part of the spiritual family. If anybody in the biological family is a part of the spiritual family, then therefore we double down on the relationship. And then if they're part of the soul family, which is an extreme rarity, yeah, that just adds to the connectivity. However, my person finds that in fact, it was speaking about this earlier. That I admit is a philosophy that says that there are different levels. I admit what brings us together is our awareness that we are, as my person says, which people resonate with, an embodiment of Christ consciousness. You know, a
right.
soul, a soul with the potential to realize itself through actualization. And so we it. And I admit it's a lifestyle and a philosophy of being an example of what that looks like, hence through time and space becoming what we already are. And so that was, and before you came on, it was like that's our two connections over 30 years. That's our core connections. And so what we do is in line with that. Because and the more that we step away from that, say, out there in the so-called world or whatever, this or the other, we may get more separated. And so that's the same thing with the again with just the idea of all of us have a core foundation. And for my person, it's soul family. It's soul family is that family is those beings that resonate with when it's time to leave. We're gonna leave like, well, either two things. One, definitely, when it's time to leave, we're gonna leave like Enoch in the Bible. Ascension, rainbow body, light body. There's no, that's the higher end of it, and the lower end of it is the awareness of simply breaking the cycle of the so-called reincarnation. So it's not that leaving the body, taking the body with you is you know, but we would say at least having an idea of when you're going to exit. Say okay, it's done. We're going to leave out this a day and time. Again, which is a certain level of awareness that identifies your connectedness again back to the all, because you're aware of when it's time to move to the next thing. And a good analogy of that in Earth time is when you know it's time to leave one job or one situation for another, and you put your resignation in. You say, "This is the date we're going to go from this to over here." But some people stay on it long enough. To either they get fired because they know they're leaving, or that some an offer comes in and I got to go now because it came in already, and there was that not that proper because you didn't say I'm leaving now because this because that's the same analogy, a different analogy as well. So below we're speaking about the leaving piece. So and that's just a
Okay,
person
so
right now on the portal. My person's soul family right now. It's personal. It's right now. It may shift a little bit. It's just is new. This is new. Soul family, spirit family, and biological family. This Trinity. So give thanks for allowing my person to share. Just like you said, it was listening to itself while at the same time and know that this is coming. This is straight new. So it's gateway cultivating to know what it's saying and to know that we know it's coming from someplace else. So we're listening just as intently. That's why we had to get this pen out so we can write some shit down so that we remember the shit that happened while we saw it. Since it wasn't us, we may forget it, but as we present with it, we know we can see it. But once this moment is over, we may forget it because so much stuff happened. So we have to write down this experience that we saw ourselves in real time. Speaking of the uploads of how we now have a Trinity perspective of family. All right.
okay, okay. So, in leaving that subject and going to the topic of the day, if I were to segue, I had initially thought of honoring our former selves as my thought of what the topic was, as far as my interpretation of your take. What was your take on it? What's your the way you? How did you say speak the topic?
Well, do this in remembrance of me. Um,
Okay,
who,
okay,
who, who are you remembering? Why are you remembering? And how are you remembering? It could be what are you remembering too. What are you remembering? Who are you remembering? Why are you remembering? And how are you remembering? And maybe even when you're remembering. Yeah. So all of those things based upon remembering, and it's wide open. It could be a person, place, or thing, event, situation. So that is wide open. It's wide open.
okay. So when I said remembering our former selves, I guess I was thinking of dying to self and having the that you die to yourself daily sort of thing.
Right.
Um, so I will usurp that thought and attach it to why am I remembering? So this is Memorial Weekend, and this would be the time when general population would be remembering our fallen soldiers.
Right.
And so I still want to kind of go in the direction of what I was saying as far as to die to our former selves, because a part of ourselves dies with those whom we may have been attached to that were in those scenarios that might have just had the fact that we were banking on them and their courage to go out and be that part of, you know, the balancing of the scales on behalf of our freedom. If I were to believe the scenario that's what's spoken out loud as far as how the countries operate, as far as this militaristic and or anything related to warfare. So I don't, I don't know if I am over analyzing it.
Hey.
But as I began to speak on it, to say, what I was remembering and what I was memorializing, I want to honor the people who think that that's what they're doing. I want to honor the person who has in their mind that I'm doing this for my country. I'm doing this for the land I love. I'm doing this for the people I love. I'm doing this for the purpose, because this is me showing, emoting in honor of whatever is against what they're for.
So are you saying you enjoying the acknowledgement of mainstream with the memorial? That's what they're doing. They honoring those who.
Well, what I was saying was,
Uh,
thank you for recatching me back into the swing of things. But yeah, so what I was trying to say was that yes, I do see some value in memorializing things and remembering things and
uh,
honoring things, but honoring for the right reasons and honoring with the right intentions in mind, because I'm at the place now where I'm saying the right thing for the right reason. I'm doing the right thing for the right reason. That's how I have shifted in 2024, being, living more of what I had been here. Like I used to be this prudish, stick in the mud type person for a bit, and then I, took the unleashed the tie, and went a little more and little more and little more till now. I feel like I've sloughed off a lot of the rough edges.
you have,
So
you have, you have.
thank you.
Yeah,
But
congratulations.
well, yes, and so some of that is in due to the courage of some of my former selves, the courage of that I have in former, like I know I'm not like I used to be, as so far as, I would jump off a high dive, I would, skydive. I may or may not skydive now, I'm not sure, but and in my dreams I fly and soar, I mean, like, just from standing still and flying high. So when I know I have a different parameter, I'm probably a lot more adventurous. But I'm not that former self. Those former selves of mine were, they were able to do things at a level of courage that I have to applaud. Like, wow, you really what? Like, I have to recognize those things about myself now, knowing that's my former self, knowing that's the self I used to be.
You,
That's a different perspective. I never took that perspective until I thought I was taking that angle from what you said. So some kind of way I got hooked into, but I wanted to go back to talking about, well, why do we, like you said, why do we remember these things? What, and what do we remember? And so there are a lot of um, things that in the past, as far as the reason why I would say this day was so significant, there's so many things that I'm not really in the same mindset as to when this holiday was first, given, as far as for me to recognize. Oh yeah, it's fun as a school day off, as a work day off, but and as I said before, I see a lot of that rolling thunder, those motorcycle groups coming into town to
oh yeah,
remember the fallen soldiers,
right, right.
and so, it probably means something totally different to them, and that group in particular, they're probably so like that's such a motivation and an energizer for, you to remember the great things that the former selves have done. And those folks are, may or may not be military, but life, soldiers in life, you know, in real life, whether it's live combat hand to hand and on a war field or the battlefield or wherever the field is, I really feel as though, we have a lot of unsung heroes just for us not knowing the, real story of things, apparently the what's his name, Manson, apparently he got a bad rap because of some things that he, like, they have twisted his story into where it was like a cult thing, but it was them trying to them some operatives trying to quail or squash another kind of a whole different type of energy, you know,
Right.
um, against
Right.
melanated men and women, children, and so on, families.
Right.
So, but so yeah, so we have very different versions that are now being revealed, so far as to what we really should be memorializing. What should we really be? I won't limit. I probably previously had limited, but I don't think I'm gonna have. Oh, I think I need to take my glasses off because the reflection is not good.
Oh, okay. How about that?
Yeah. So
Self-aware.
yeah. So no, it just seems as though we had Freedom Fridays, Friday or whatever the other day.
Right.
I also look at that word day differently because when you say days, it's also like DAZE, you know.
Yes. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But it's also the sort of like the sound of the beginning of deity, So but yeah, no, I feel as though, on our Freedom Friday, we spoke about, opening our minds to different perspectives of things. And I also spoke to how words, letters, the values, the energies, they all are relative to, the music I'm speaking basically in notes and in tones. These are things that are affecting us in a certain way, the when we put these words together. So what I was reflecting on was that, once you are able to open your mind to the minuscule pieces of things that make up this whole, whether you say hologram, simulation, whatever, you can get
Uh-huh.
into the value of the energies of these things. I mean, it's just a eye-opening conversation to have, that when I started thinking about honoring ourselves, and doing the right thing for the right reason and saying the right thing for the right reason. It's a very eye-opening mindset to be inclusive, and not exclusive, to memorialize on a across the board basis, because there are many parts of me that have been released into their eternal beingness or whatever, family members, loved ones. Just yesterday, there was a car accident that happened, and one of my former bass players, CD, the car doctor, CD, beautiful, wonderful, marvelous bass player, recently got married a couple years ago. I don't know, I want to say about 7 years ago, got married
Okay.
and
Wow.
moved away, became a truck driver. Anyway, he had a wonderful life he had set up with him and his family in Ohio, and his wife,
Okay.
who was a heck of a catch. And she was a homemaker and a fun maker. She loved, there was a lot of things about her I admired about how he had picked her and so on. But yeah,
Right.
so I want to give a moment, to remember this beautiful bass maker. I mean, music maker. This musical man, Clarence. You know, he was definitely. I will miss him in my heart of hearts. And my best bud Dion called me this morning to
Yeah.
share that news with me, and we're losing a lot of soldiers. We're losing a lot of soldiers, but we're also gaining a lot of ancestors and gaining a lot of energy on the other side. As far as now, they're in the war. They're in that number now.
Yeah.
Oh, how I long to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints
Who wouldn't
go
say?
marching in.
Imagine
When the days go marching in, oh, how I long to be in that number. I look forward to it too. When the saints go marching in.
That's it.
I say, oh, I say, oh. So my dad's birthday, um, the 26th,
That's right.
and my cousin's birthday is today. He is still living, but my dad has gone on to glory into his eternal ether suit. I don't know if he's come back in any other form yet, but I do know I still get my dad's energy here and there. I still hear his
Yeah.
laugh. I whistled yesterday, so I reminded myself of him when I whistled.
Well, that's all right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's another piece of my former self and my future self,
Right.
because I'm from that DNA, and from that DNA is my daughter, and from my daughter is also my grandson, and so on and so on into our future
Yes.
selves. Those are my future selves. Those are my former selves, my pops, my grandmommy, my granddaddy,
Uh,
a lot of my former family that are here on this plane in the ethers. I
yeah.
am remembering my former selves, my former selves,
Yeah.
soldiers that were on this side and ancestors and saints in the beyond realm and the next dimension from this. And they may be beyond that. Who knows how quickly that goes?
Right. Yeah.
I'm hearing some noise in the background. I'm not sure why, but it could be because I'm being heard but it's not loud. It's not really annoying per se, but I just thought I'd mention it.
That's not this.
No.
Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
so we had a wonderful Thursday event this week. A Thursday event. It was the full moon in Sagittarius.
Oh, yes.
And is this
Hmm.
Taurus time or is this is Taurus time, just before Cancer time, right?
Gemini.
Gemini. My bad, my bad. Oh, that's my dad. That's my dad. Why didn't I know that? Wow. Thank you. Wow. Yes, my dad was a Gemini. And it was a wonderful event that we had. It was wonderful. There was a lot of healing that was going on that, unbeknownst to me, and now beknownst to me, multiple layers of things going on. I talked to Ghost about some things, and he had some different perspective as well. You shared with me your perspective, and then I had my own perspective, of what I saw. So there's multiple perspectives of our event, because
Mhm.
each individual healings and so on. But I'd like to invite people to start coming out with us on these events. But I can't imagine that, because I want to do it online too. Remember I was talking about I want to start doing the gateway part online, and
Right.
I I'm talking to myself while I'm talking to you. So I'm talking out loud to say,
Yeah.
it's so
All the time.
powerful.
All the
It's so powerful. I I have a new reverence for the gateway meditation. It's so powerful. It was it.
Yeah.
I, by waking myself up saying out loud, something feels funny.
Okay.
Woo! And the part that did the most healing at the full moon event was the funny part. The
Okay.
part that I was trying to be funny about, I
Uh,
think may have done the most healing. And so for me to wake myself up back into this consciousness and say, something feels
yeah.
funny. Ooh, I'm connecting a few things, just connecting a few things. So I'm still here for a reason. I still have much to go, or, however much to go on my
Right.
mission, So I stay true to myself and my side and my version of what I deliver, and those who get healing out of it get healing out of it, because what's healing for you in a harsh way is healing for someone else in a
Right.
hilarious way.
That's it.
So either way, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, because if I cut and prune according to someone else's hurt yet healing, and I curtail my energy because of someone else's hilarity being healing, so in both cases I got healing, but in both cases there's a balance. So laughter itself is balancing. Laughter itself, just the adrenaline, just from straight up no chase laughter.
That's it. That's it.
Okay. Now that beats them all. That beats, you don't have to have a joke. You don't have to invoke it. You just go with it and just enjoy it. Oh my gosh, that was so delicious.
Yeah.
Yummy, 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 yummy. That was delicious. That was very healing and therapeutic because that was a soft spot for me.
Right.
Be quiet. I mean, what are you doing? Funny faces? That
Tasting it.
was
Tasting it.
hilarious for me because remember we just had a recent conversation about this hilarity part of the segment of my healing services or healing session for the moon. And
Okay.
I leaned into, okay, maybe I'll prune it. Maybe the content isn't as appropriate. But then I also had to go to the fact that be true to what I know still needs to be there, and that is the laughter part. And that is what the conversation was. The person whom we both know who said she really received some healing moments from that. But she also made mention that the organic laughter yoga part of it is therapeutic. So I just went through that whole piece and got out of it some peace. So peace, one love and Ashe wellness.
Yeah. Another another option that just came up that wasn't my personal call being shared was that of um, sharing with the participants to take a moment and recall either the funny joke or the funny experience that had you rolling. Either so you give them the opportunity to find their own, and most people can think of some funny shit, you know. Me sometimes it's not a joke, sometimes it's an experience they have, and that was some funny shit. Think about that, and they can just go there on their own, especially if it's already being laughed. So they're just another option instead of giving them the joke, saying, "Hey, relax, we already relaxed." And you put up your own joke on your own mind. And when you find it, you catch up with us because we already gone. Pow, that kind of thing. So that's another option.
Well, I was laughing at myself, laughing at myself, laughing at myself, laughing. That's how I felt. So that could be also another explanation to say laugh at yourself, laughing at yourself, laughing. That was a deep. I went deep and deep. I felt that in my core, in my gut. I saw stars. My muscles in my abdomen, my solar plexus
Right.
was very tickled. Yes.
And that was my person's contribution when it was asked about the recap of the event, on the laughter part. It suggested, that organic part because it's organic trumps the plan for the most part, because it's yeah, yeah. So that's beautiful. And as we do this once again, and give thanks for the Dogons. Now, a person has a life of being intentional. So now every time my person do a microdose, it's a microdose. Every time we do a microdose, the intention shall be that we are connecting with the ET side. That
Oh,
yeah, our person from Arcturus.
yeah.
We came there from Arcturus. It's a star system.
All
It's like the fourth largest star system, star Arcturus, next to Sirius, or is it the other one? Anyway,
right.
yeah, so now as we should partake, just want to share that out loud. So give thanks for that update because you've been hearing you say it for quite some time, and it's been resonating. And what they said now, the imaginary friends, they say this time, they say, why you keep saying this shit in your head that it resonates, the doggone and serious? Because what happened that for a while, my person thought that it was from Sirius. It's like we came to Earth from Sirius. However, after getting this Akashic records reading, the sister said, "Oh, brother, you came to Earth from Arcturus." So we did a little bit of finding about Arcturus, and like, oh, well, that resonates. So not to go into that now, because the point is just my person resonates with being an ET, and so now as we be intentional, give thanks to the Dogon, because on the way back to Arcturus, the plan is to hit Sirius. Stop by there. And before Sirius, the Pleiades, because of Christianity. That Pleiades, Christianity, and then back to Arcturus. So we're gonna hit Pleiades once we leave, Earth, on the way back to Arcturus. And so now when we do the microdose, we say ET phone home. So we say ET phone home. So give
So when
thanks.
you
That
say
just came up
microdose,
just
you're
now.
speaking
Started
on
talking ET
THC.
phone home. THC, that's a THC microdose, yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
here's a little something for that also. Um, been had this for a little while now. I've been getting some organic cannabis, um, because of preference. Organic. It just so happened funds was a little low to get the user because he delivers and things like this. So you usually make it worth a while. So it's like $20. A little dub because we microdose, don't do a whole lot. So we go by one of the dispensaries on the way to George Avenue to the Blue Nile crystal shop. Just went up there to wrap some crystals. And so we was waiting for the bus on Florida and George Avenue. And there's this a dispensary there. Because my person got his phone fixed when they had a cell phone. When they got the cell phone fixed, they had the pre-rolls there. They had some cell phone. No, got it going on. It was about a year ago. It was like, we good. But yesterday, it was like, man, what y'all got? Just quick. What's the highest THC I got? He's we got something that got about 36%. 36%. 36%. And it was really a little expensive, so we just got a dub. And a dub was a pre-roll. He's like got a pre-roll of it. So we took the pre-roll and just sprinkled a little bit and hit the macro dose. We hit a motherfucking percent. This was 35 and some change hit like, oh Lord. Yeah. So needless to say, and what happened, come to find out, oh, that's one dispensary.
Yeah.
Coming back.
That's why you were so late to performance yesterday. I
Nah,
knew you were doing that.
that
Okay,
wasn't
because
it. That
you wasn't
wasn't it.
off in space. You weren't lost in space.
Nah, that's what we're gonna get to that. Good, thanks for that. So what
Okay.
happened? What happened? Coming back after was finished rapping, right? Was coming back. So it was like, okay, we got $20 more now. That's all we really made $20. So now we get another 20. But we didn't think about that. But just so happened there was a security guard with his vest on and everything saying, hey, you gotta go in here, you gotta go in here. They're giving away some free roll-ups, promoting a new smoke, a new dispensary. They so new. He's like, we haven't got fully permission yet. But something he talked about, but it doesn't matter. We got some shit. Anyway. and gotten a free roll-up. And then he said we got this stuff called SD minis. SD minis, he's like, it's got a special on this. You get 3.5 grams for like 20, or maybe 4 grams for like $20. It's like, we get it. This shit hit like the 35. Maybe not as high, but it does something. So then it was like, you used to getting this organic shit. Now you're getting this shit, this medical dispensary shit. It's something they did. Then the conversation was, well, what's the difference between hitting a dispensary weed, cannabis, and hitting a Molly every now and again? I haven't hit it in about maybe a couple of months now, but every now and again, a little Molly. And the theory behind the Molly was, we know the intention for it. We alchemize it. We meditate. We juice that thing up with a different intention. So we don't change it. We just switch it. We say, and we rotate the frequency of it so it's benefit. So we did the same thing with the dispensary herb, which is say that we may go back up there and get some of that shit that can get you that because it's the ET shit. That's the whole story. It's the ET shit. So now that's what happened after we left. So because we connected with the ET, the extraterrestrials, and what happened? There's a sister who comes to Soul for Sundays on a regular basis, and wasn't able to make it because of the move, and because she's moving this strong in, and the type of move that's happening. It's a lot, And she just reached out, just wanted to talk, because she expressed how beneficial the words of wisdom. And so what happened? We went to the park. It was a Farragut right there on Connecticut, 17th, 18th Connecticut, right there. Farragut Park. And they got these chairs and stuff, chairs and tables out there now. That's something different. So we sat up under the tree that resonated, and as we was talking, it became more and more clear that this is like we having a session, and so, and because it's a session, it's God's work. It was like, well, we're not going to be there when the call time of that when the time, but we're doing God's work. Whenever my person get there, is really right on time because that's the way doing. And so much so that even when leaving, was looking for a bus didn't come. And they kept thinking, if you trust that process, if you trust because you're doing God's work, because of the benefit, because of what was the transference of energy, the good sex, sacred energy exchange, and being able to help release some of the emotions, the tensions, what was being experienced because of the transition now, and to assist them to see how the transition is actually benefiting and in alignment with where she's going. And this is key also. It also, during the counseling sessions, we always point out the highs because sometimes it's hard to see what we're doing that is in alignment because what is not in alignment sometimes can feel that feeling can override the hey, we're doing something good because that feeling is heavy. We don't want that. Since we don't want it, we pay more attention when it's there. And so the same analogy about the resume. My person used that same analogy. Um, when it said that on this, she came to mind because she says because she the way she got to go now, she got to put the resume in and give her space because part of the thing she is a whole lot more detail, but just the fact that to be able to put the resume in to give her time says you know enough time so she can save so she got that space and that was in
Right.
line with what we talked about today, which goes to say that because we was doing God's work it's going to come back again to say hey there's a connection to what you said in this session to what's going on now in this discussion that aligns with the evolution of you becoming who you came to be. And then what one person got there, we was walking down the sidewalk and there was some people standing outside already. And we just walking. As we walking, the door opened. And there's a door open. A person just walked and held the door open for the other people because he was like, we don't want to get in for the party. There was no concierge. They were standing there for a minute. Because coming on the sidewalk, walking the sidewalk, we saw the people. So by the time my person got there, the person came to open the door. My person held the door open for them. Then somebody said, yeah, we was waiting for the party, but who are you? You just came up as just going to come in. Are you going there? We said, no, we the saxophone player. The instrument, the sax on the back. We're the saxophone player. So by the time a person got up there, we came up, we saw y'all out taking the pictures. In fact, we saw you getting ready to stand up and take the picture. But because it was like a lot of people in the elevator, my person like, we gotta hope. Yes, sir, it's hold the door for you once again as you get out. By the time we got out, we said, oh, there they go right there. But it was like all these glass doors and the people right there. It took a while to get out there. So it was like, So like it was like we saw the picture, but wasn't moved because we wasn't in the picture. So we was in the picture vibration because we saw the picture like, oh, we with them. So we with them. You take the picture because they was like, how'd you get in here? And the band take like, we with them. So we became in the picture energetically. We say, we with them. They taking the picture. We were with intention.
Okay. Okay.
And all that to say now we go. This is ET phone home because when we phoning home, we in gateway. And so we in God's time. And we just as organic can be. And being as organic, that's where you will find God. The peace of God that passes all understanding. Whether you're running a marathon, doing the dance, if you right here, that's it. So all I can say,
Well,
give thanks for sharing about the Dogon, because it expands the intentions of this now.
one love I share. Yes.
Yo.
Fabulous. Fabulous expansion. Long story short. I'll make my long story short because my story goes along with yours. In reference to, because I remember I came up and I was about to scoop you to take you to the event. And you came over and says, hey, the sister wants to XYZ before beforehand. And it seemed like, it would be enough time. But then when I came across the street, I got a sense from the sister. When I got closer to her, I got a different vibe. I'm like, no, this sister needs a Shep one-on-one time because I could see in her energy that she had some heavy stuff going on with her. She had a very, very heaviness to her. So I was like, well, let me separate myself from the potential equation because I know you had included me in that equation. Say, hey, come on, let's go, go with us and we'll go together. And that was great and wonderful. But when I saw the energy that was on her,
Yeah.
that seemed like when I introduced myself and we had our conversation, I lightened it up for her to let her know, hey, I asked her, could you do me a favor? I said, can you drop him off at the performance? Because I was, going to offer a ride and I could have come with you guys, but I think it would be ideal if you could get him there, and I'll just, you guys enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you shortly. I was thinking she might even come with you, but I didn't know the depth, or anything other than it was, I would be of value, but my thought was that I could also stay in my lane at that moment. Like, okay, that is my lane. I could be in that lane, but right now I'm in another lane and I'm going to go to where I was thinking, because I started thinking about that the building that we were going to and the area that we were going to, it started hitting me that I worked in that block, like two buildings down, my first job back from Baltimore in DC. That
Uh-huh.
also, one block down on the other side, I worked at a place called Computer Technology Institute, CTI, when I left Manpower, which leaving Manpower was like a big deal for me. And then also went to an event in that same, I believe it's the same building, because it was the same protocol to go to visit with our recent ancestor, Mama D, Dorita.
Uh-huh.
I believe that was the
Right.
last building on K Street where she had her, offices and so on. So I kind of got caught up into that memorializing, remembering, going down memory lane. I even sat in the car for like 10 minutes just revisiting some of those moments of going in and out of the building here and looking and seeing the other building there and looking to the building that we're going to and remembering each of those events and holding them sacred for real. Sacred remembrances of my former selves, because I apparently that block for me was a very it was very supportive, because my first job back from Baltimore
Uh-huh.
and my first job back after being with Manpower, which was maybe about 6 years later, so 6 years apart, across from each other.
Uh-huh. What
And to
year did
be
that
honest,
transition?
huh?
That's what year did you leave Manpower? You recall that year, that Earth year?
2010, I believe.
Okay.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I was
Uh,
there from 05 to 2010.
okay.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, July of 05 to March of 2010. And I only remember those months because there were special things that had happened at that time. One, I was cut short by two months for my 5 year buy-in, but they had merged with another company, and there were a lot of downsizing that was going on, a lot of crossfire, all their people that would have been in our positions had our titles were who they
Right.
kept. So they didn't keep the others. But anyway, K Street actually has been a very, very healing, supportive space for me, because that's also where Careers USA's main office was. Now that I remember that.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah. So anyway, staffing, and yeah, my staffing career was stoked pretty hot, pretty well on that block.
Yeah, that's all right. Congratulations.
So more
Congratulations. Indeed.
more memories of my former selves and giving myself kudos, because wow, those were high ideal, high pay, high visibility, high energy, high activity. Ooh, I ooh doing that now, remembering how energetic I was at that point. Ooh, ooh.
Yeah,
I'm
sounds
a
like it's happy
firecracker.
in that
Huh?
something. Yes.
Yes. Ooh.
So yeah, that's a Dr. Sonata energy. You see?
I am. I see. I do. I manage myself much better now. But back then, I was taking something called Happy Camper.
Okay.
And that helped to keep me from, so I was more happy than anything, because there was a lot of pressure going on. It was a lot of stress, to get those high ticket, high yields, six-figure jobs, you know. Those were six figures for me. And it was definitely an awesome, awesome expression of my energy back then.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all right, Beautiful, beautiful story on a beautiful journey. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
Hmm. Well, all
At
right.
the
So
tone the time will be.
12:36. 12:36, and at this time, maybe the person just share a little bit on its resonation, its vibing with the um, do this in remembrance of me. So
Okay.
the one of the original um, uploads of that was because it came from, as my person recalls correctly, the communion in the Christian church. You know, in the communion.
My body, my flesh, blood
Right,
of my
right.
blood.
He broke bread. When he gave to them, he said these things, do this in remembrance of me, something like that, right? And so, my person says, oh, we're remembering Yeshua. Who we're remembering? Who we're remembering specifically, Yeshua? Because it's foundational for my person's existence. It's foundational for my person's reason for incarnating, for choosing to take on a physical body. Because before the physical body, my person is, as it is currently now, holding space as a member of the Galactic Federation of Light, of the evolution of human consciousness. And then my person split itself and said, let's get a body and do it from the inside. So here we are. And the story of Yeshua, you know, um, was given to my person coming up. It was given. Here's Christianity. This here it is. Believe in this. You'll be saved. Go to heaven. That's the way it was put, and that's the way it was put out there. So now we have a different perspective on it. So he says, okay, what we're remembering now is that what he said growing up, even growing up, that you should do greater works. You know, um, seek you first the kingdom of heaven, and heaven's on the inside. And so, remembering Yeshua is by remembering what he said and embodying what he said. So remember what he said. That's putting the pieces, man. To remember what he said and embody that he said. So, my person will become even more of an embodiment of Christ consciousness. You see. So by remembering Yeshua, and at the same time, it is remembering Yeshua, it is remembering self. This is the bridge, as my person says. Yes, it it was given Christianity growing up. It says here, this religion for you. This way we use the religion like this. We use the religion this way. If you use it some other way, you're free to do it, but we might talk about you real bad that you might not want to do it. So you can do some other stuff, but if you do it exactly like this, then you're good with ours, the way we use Christianity. So we was given a certain perspective on Christianity. And then what happened is, once my person said, "Wait a minute, we don't really dig this perspective." We at a certain point, I was like, "Man, okay, no, it's got to be something else." So we're looking for something else. When we look for something else, my person found it. It found this religion and philosophy called Osira Set Society. That's in Washington, D.C., headquartered in New York. Um, this the story of Osir and Haru and Osset, the Osirian resurrection story, is embodied in the Kemetic tree of life, which is what this organization religion and lifestyle is. It's about embodying the Kemetic tree of life. So the same as my person says, let's embody what Yeshua said about doing greater works. And God is on the inside. Let's embody that. Then once we find out about this thing called Kemet, ancient Egypt, pyramids, not just not, not just the pyramids, more importantly, the writing on the walls of the pyramid, hence the pyramid text. And so the Bible has someone called Daniel to interpret the pyramid, the writing on the wall in the story of Daniel, was interpreted the dream. So he got some favor. Somebody, one of them cats, the writing on the wall. And so that writing on the wall, my person resonated. That's from Tahuti. And so out there, don't read, not necessarily astute in the hieroglyphs. However, reading the translation, say, oh, that's what this shit say on the wall. Oh, we go embody that shit too. We embody the writings on the wall of the pyramids, because the pyramid themselves is a tree of life. It's a pyramid, because there's a pyramid above, pyramid below. There's as above, so below. That too, which you want to look at is two pyramids. You see one, but it's actually two pyramids, which is the Merkaba. So that's the tree of life, the two pyramids, the Merkaba. So we say, oh, well, let's combine these two. And so as we remember Yeshua on one end, we remember Yeshua to become this. On the Kemetic end is the Osirian resurrection story, in which my person is going to give a little bit of that story too, because this is the epitome of remembering. And it is valid for the Iamid philosophy on it, whoever it resonates with on remembering how to be who they already are. We already that. This is about remembering that shit and being that, but we already it. That's the game we play with ourselves. Anyway, so the Assyrian resurrection story simply is the short version. Osir and Osset, the first king and queen, husband and wife, and brother and sister of Kemet, ancient Egypt. And so the reason why Osir was a king, because he unified Upper and Lower Kemet, Upper and Lower Egypt, which is symbolic of the higher self and lower self, the heart and the mind, from my person's perspective. Then there's also Osir. Osir is Osiris in Greek. Oset is Isis in Greek. So Osar has a twin brother in the story. The twin brother's name is, they called him Set, S-E-T, which in the Greeks put Satan. So the twin brother of God, Set, say, oh man, nigga, they doing something. I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. And I can do a better job. I need to do a better job. So so the story has it, Set created a plan, got him cut him up and scattered his body. Set, Isis went looking for him. Some say like the Easter egg hunt, the children looking for eggs. So and she found everything except for the reproductive parts. And Set, Isis being the embodiment of the feminine aspect of the all. So, oh, guess we got to make another one then. Shit, what we do, create. So she made another one. That's what she do, give birth. So, so boom, and out pops Haru. Now, like the Bible story, the king Herod or somebody was looking for him, so they had to hide him. They hide him. And so the same thing with the Set story. She hid Haru because Set would look at him, take him out of here, because Set wanted Haru, and he knows Haru was going to avenge his father. And that's what he did. It was a fight, and there was fight, fight. Then one of the fights, Haru got his eye plucked out. They call Haru horse in Greek. So they say, he lost an eye in the battle. Oh, my eye. We call him blind Haru, because you don't see is, you say don't do it, or if you do a job half-ass when you know better, that's blind Haru. Like you know better, just half-assing around. You're not living up to your full potential for whatever reason. When you live in your full potential, walk in your full glory, you got both eyes open. You're showing up. When you half-ass, you got the one eye. That's blind Haru. And so Tahuti came and put the eye back so we can see. So the eye of Horus, the eye of Haru, was restored by Tahuti. So now that he can see again, And the key to the story is Haru cannot kill Set, even though allegedly Set killed his father. Because Set is really what they call the ego. Satan, the devil, in essence, is the ego. And so, since you can't kill the ego, you can't kill the devil, you can't kill Set, as because that's your uncle, because we Haru, Yeshua. What happens is you have to subdue him, as they say, subdue him. And then it's just in the process of subduing, in those days, when someone becomes a slave, you having a battle and you subdue someone, you win. Oh, we won the battle. The one who is subdued becomes a slave. So now the slave works for the victor. So when Haru wins the battle, the devil now works for Haru to fulfill whatever Haru want to get done. That's how the devil works for God. That's why, like, go call it Job. Shit, the devil worked for God. Why wouldn't they have a conversation like that? Okay, so that's how we cross-reference these stories. So the Bible is a lot more familiar. The ascension and resurrection is very simple, but we can correlate certain things across there with this cross-pollination. And so, as Haru subdues and become one, integration, Haru is now Osar again, and Osar and Aset is now one again. And again, that story, hence, when Aset, Isis, went to find the pieces, she was looking for the members, so that she is able to remember Asar, remember God, remember God, remember God. And again, Aset, the divine feminine of the all, which is why for my person to remember God, to remember to ascend, it is doing so with being obedient to her. Aset, Isis, the divine feminine within my person, which comes back to being organic. Because the more organic my person is, like right now, it's like do some shit that you didn't plan on doing. They don't care. They say, we don't care what it is. Do something that you didn't plan on doing to show what you're talking about. So whatever shit we just did, we say, that's the shit we just being organic. Because that's when she is expressing herself. And then as she expresses herself, when it's done in harmony, he is simply observing. So you can stay of being coherent, present in gateway, where he is observing how she is showing up as a unique expression of the all. So this is how my person, so this is what it's remembering. It's remembering all that shit. This is not, so that's why only thing for us to do at this point is be the high priest at the temple, create a position where our job is to tell the story on our journey of remembering. That's all the high priest is doing. High priest. It wasn't here before my person came. We created it. Now we got to show you what it looks like. And to show you what it looks like, since it wasn't when you go to a class or a seminar, get certified. Oh, he's certified to be a high priest. Is on the job training, which is why my person has to tell stories. It has to tell stories now and be repetitive, because people will be repetitive all the time. So my person is going to be more repetitive, slightly different, but keep telling the same story on how it became the high priest, which is telling his story on how it's being it, which is remembering. It's a full-time job. So we the high priest. We just say, I remember.
That's interesting. You said two things that brought me to, we've had a journey together for over 30 years now. And remembering when we began to seek to feel what I felt was a void. It's like I knew there was something I was missing, like I wasn't in touch with that God spark as much. It wasn't something that was real to me. But it just reminds me of, remember I said I did this meditation and I met this being on the, it was an Asian bridge, an archway over water. And when I met them, they said, do not look upon me. Of course, that was a fraction of a second too late. because I had already looked upon them. And when I did, it scattered my brain, or what I felt like were my marbles. And if I
Right.
relate to how you said, it was probably more like my members, because, pulling my memories back, remembering myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
remembering, so when I look back and remember, I said there were some marbles that I think that I had picked up of someone else's that are now they're part of me. But previously, they were someone else's marbles or memories or members or remembrances. So I relate to that story in that way, which is very interesting. Once you said that, it came to me. But then you also said something else, which I kind of want to. Is you have said this of me, and I hear you now saying it of yourself. And so now, when you're saying it of me, it makes me go back to think. I think I was telling you for a long while that I was a sacred arts curator. I just didn't have the full position description. I just knew that's what I was. And once I started acting more and more like myself, more
Hmm.
and more authentic, more and more of the original organic version of myself,
Right.
that's when I started seeing what the actual job duties were, what the description of the position was.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what a sacred arts curator was. I just knew that I was given that title,
Right.
in one of my sun gazing meditations on the beach at the water, which was actually the same time I was given during those 7 days of birth of my business, Love+Art equals wellness, coming up with the 5 words of supernatural wellness, and then as well as so the business was birthed during this time. The sun gazing was a major part of it, and was just continuing to get downloads and downloads. But what I said that to say is that I was told what my position was,
Right.
yet I did not yet have a physical duties description of what the duties were. I just saw myself falling into the places of, and that became the description. And so I see what you're saying. Also, gosh, a third thing I got from what you said, because we're a reflection of each other. And so you're sharing with me about you repeating your stories. You know, Oftentimes over the
Right.
years, these miraculous stories that I have, when these things beautiful, like just now when I said this, the meditation where I scattered my marbles and remembering myself,
Right. Right. Right.
it's as though telling those, it's like when I'm telling those stories sometimes, I've heard you energetically, I'm not going to say rush me through it like, oh yeah, I heard this. Oh yeah, I remember that part. So there's sometimes the things that you'll respond to it to let me know that you remember that was something that I had told before. But, and this is why I think I've shared this with you before. Let the story unfold, because I may be realizing some new information, but I won't be able to get to that new information until I decipher and dig through and dust off and polish up and, that diamond in the rough, and give it some shine and allow the light to hit it, and for it to become the prism of life, for me to be able to see new colors and new things of it. So thank you for sharing with me that you now are now positioning yourself to present your information over and over. Not only does that make you, it perfects your delivery, but it also pulls out new gems, because it's
Yes.
going to hit differently every time the new person, or it's going to hit differently because of the new perspective or the new information or the new energy and life that you're giving it. You're revitalizing it for that moment, to your vision for that reason, and whatever pops out of it as far as the lesson of that
Yeah.
delivery, that dissertation, that, what do they call that when the pastor, the minister, when he delivers his message, what is that? His sermon.
Sermon.
Yeah. Or session,
Yeah.
or some counseling, all
Or
those things.
discussion. Or discussion.
Right, discussion. So, but
Soulful
but I
discussion.
I have now settled into the mindset that I previously didn't have. I wasn't authentically myself all the time. I would fall into that corporate realm, whatever, whatever. And we were in a corporate realm yesterday. But when I introduced one of the songs, I went into my most true authentic self, because it was a song that was in another language, but it's a worship song. And when you look at what the words mean, it's like a prayer. It's like a gospel song to a degree, you know? And
Yeah.
so I introduced it in because we were on that performance was on the rooftop. we were we were in the sky, and I was feeling that moment of worship, like being authentically grateful for where I was,
Yeah.
you know. And so in that moment and at that time, I heard and recognized one of the other musicians. I think um, it's kind of, felt where I was going and reined me back in, because I was about to float out and go guru for the moment. But yeah, so that was a remembrance of um, me being in my authentic self
Okay.
within what was a corporate environment, you know. And after that, like I said, I reined it in, but I recalibrated,
Yeah.
to the point where that conversation I
That's
shared
it.
with
That's
you,
it. That's right.
that at the end of the night, because of the whole, the show, the presentation, how we represented ourselves, how we were interacting and enjoying ourselves amongst the celebration, the celebration, we became ringleaders of the celebration per se, so that we were celebrating with them, but we were directing some of that celebrative energy. So anyway, I did not feel inappropriate or out of place when I made my comments, and thought, okay, they're open enough now to hear me, you know, at least. It was an ideal time to interject that little nugget of information or knowledge.
Right.
And
Right.
you just today said, it's sinking in even more now that it's inclusive to, like one of the paradigm shifts is that, it's more inclusive. That 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 knowledge of that is now more so included in partaking, to say, okay, yeah, I'm not from here either, and let me connect with some of the messages that you're, like, right now you don't have a phone, so when you go to a hotspot and you connect, and you can see all the messages people sent you.
Right.
So I could see that when you elevate, in that way, that's like plugging in to your Wi-Fi, and now you're able to get the messages that have been waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good analogy. Yeah. That's what's happening. Right. Yeah.
So plug in.
Right.
So
Right.
in any
And
case,
yeah, and to add to that, because it's been a long time coming, understood being intentional with cannabis because it is a ceremony, it's a sacred plant. But yet
right, for
having
so long we called it that, but now,
right, and now there's a simple affirmation that we have for the unification, for the for the tantric experience of it. So yeah. And also a few other things that my person had to gather. Starting earlier on about the marbles being scattered. Another perspective is being so-called birth, or coming out that womb is such a shock, coming from the spirit world into this dimension, that our marbles get scattered in a sense, and we pick up a lot of the traumas and situations, the programming things from this dimension, because then in the process of remembering self, hence the Osirian resurrection, we're in the process now of, okay, remembering why we came here. So we came here to be a benefit. Those of us who did come, because not everyone came to be a benefit, but those of us who, my person volunteered to come to Earth because it said, let's do it from the inside. And since it came to do it from the inside, it had that scattering experience. It's like, oh, we scattered shit. We got to remember this shit. Remember why you came. Remember what you're going to be doing. Put your marbles back together again. And again, this is how similar our stories is, because we are the Osirian resurrection story. Osirian, I said right here. You're looking at them. And so what happened is, it came for the first thing that was out there was the international intergalactic spokesperson. And this came about because at the same school that we was at, again, give honor to Reverend Dorita Dixon Bay, Mama Bear, all his names. She started taking us to the church called the Church of Two Worlds. The Church of Two Worlds, we would give readings, give messages, because we were opening up our mediumship, baby. And so even after the school closed, my person kept going down there every Sunday or regular. So it was giving messages, healing, singing, what we do. My person was a priest back then. It was just, it wasn't aware. It was just doing the duties without being aware. Not a high priest, but just a priest. It was doing all the duties of a priest back then. We just wasn't aware that it was doing those duties. Otherwise, it would have been talking about priests back then. Anyway, again, as she just said, get some nuggets from telling the story again. As we're giving some timeline to, damn, we've been growing. We've been doing it, but not knowing we was doing it because we was doing it. And then when we look
The
back and say, oh, we was doing it
metaphysical warrior priest.
right. And that's what, and then we were saying at the Church of Two Worlds, though, what did come from that was intergalactic spokesperson. That came from the Church of Two Worlds. Then after a while, don't know when it came along, but the Comedic Metaphysical Warrior Priest came along. It was very short though. It was because the intergalactic spokesperson, it was out there. If this is out there, well, high priest is not. So it was coming down from all this. Oh, we're intergalactic spokesperson because we're a medium. We can tap in and give messages. Ooh, let's do that. But then we say, oh, that's just one of the gifts. That's not your primary. That just comes with the job. What's the job? Of being a priest. Why being a priest? Because it was like, man, when the emotional wellness workbook came out. So it was around that time, probably maybe a little bit before that, because the emotional wellness workbook is looking at our 7 major energy centers based upon the Comedic Tree of Life initiation. We broke it down simple. It says there's a certain way to harmonize these energy centers in such a way that you feel you can commune with God. Communion. This is a remembrance of me. It's for communion. When you remember yourself, you're in communion because there's nothing keeping you separate from feeling the all in the physical body. So that's all is how it's tied in. Comes from the Comedic Metaphysical Warrior Priest to the High Priest. And I admit. So now this is where it's the crucible. That word just popped up. Crucible. But the crucible, what the crux, one of the drink some water, calm down. His energy, we feel it, so we don't have to rise with it. We can see it a different way and still maintain the same enthusiasm. So the delivery isn't as different. One moment, we're gonna hydrate. Yes. So this, as we settle into now, all of that just to say, 10 years in, my person has spoke itself into being the high priest at a place called Temple Mother Earth, where Temple Mother Earth is a philosophy that embraces I am it. So I am it. They embrace the philosophy. So it's the merging of the I am it philosophy with Temple Mother Earth. And my person brings soul healing. As a soul healer, it brings the high priest, which is the Kemetic metaphysical warrior priest, now in specific service for a specific house of God. Being
Temple
that, yes, being that I, I and you, we we are temples for God. This is the body is a temple for God because God is on the inside. So this is the first body, and what Temple Mother Earth is suggesting, and in the Kemetic tradition, Geb is a name for the earth, which also represents the physical body, the physical dimension, the physical body. So Temple Mother Earth resonates with I Amit philosophy because I Amit is saying God is on the inside, and we're holding space for you to cultivate your philosophy on a lifestyle that allows you to experience that so that you realize that through actualizing that. So that's the I Am It philosophy, which is housed at Temple of the Earth now. And so because my person is the spokesperson for that, it makes sense. That sounds like something a high priest would be doing. So that's how we talked ourselves into this shit. And now that we the high priest doing this shit, we're like, well, what? Now that's on paper. That's just on paper. I admit it's on paper. So what is I admit gonna do that you can say it's on paper, and this is where you can come and actually see and experience, feel the vibration of the philosophy of I admit. And so that's what Temple Mother Earth does. It allows the physical space as a temple, a house of God. And when you come here, I admit is saying, let's experience the God on the inside. And we got some things, some tools, we got some soul healing tools and shit like that, which is an I am ministry. I am ministry. I am ministry. And so anyone who's affiliated with I am ministry, such as Love+Art equals wellness, is a ministry. There's a ministry. Your ministry, I admit ministry. And so as a
Yes, it
ministry, I
is.
admit it's the same thing. And so this is how we say, this is how I admit is now tangible as we say, is okay. And as the high priest and spokesperson says, okay, now we have to coordinate other ministries. It says, as a ministry, what we're going to do that show up, or what does that look like? And so they're organizing that on paper so that when we show up saying, in all dimensions, we in. And when we come together, we it. So all together, we it, individually and collectively, I admit. We'll go back to what we said earlier. So this is how my person talked himself into this, just like the sacred arts curator. And now we're the high priest. Now we're like, okay, what's next? So now we got to do what we said so that we can listen to see what's next. And then once we do what we said to listen to see what's next, and then we got to do what we said to do what we heard so that we can show you this is what it said do. What we talking about, the imaginary friends. As we drink some more water, we feel our vibration getting up. This is the first thing. At least moving into the granddaddy vibration now. The high priest now is
Right.
granddaddy vibration. So we do granddaddy vibration. Tell you your life story, be funny with it and shit. Be light and shit like that.
Well,
That's a different type of passion. It's the same passion. It's just used differently. Like you said, use the same passion differently. So we gotta remember granddaddy. What was the time? Granddaddy, he's so funny. Granddaddy crazy. Granddaddy, you ain't do that. Granddaddy didn't do that. Granddaddy wouldn't ride around in that car. Granddaddy told them judges that. Granddaddy was arrested. Granddaddy smoked that shit. Yeah, granddaddy did all
so
that.
in remembering yourself,
Right,
so in remembering myself,
right.
I I believe that I had a plant experience not too long ago where I realized I was still able to gather some of those remembrances of myself. And so it just came to me in recognition of when you were speaking to remember ourselves. I now got a few even further depth of it to say that I believe I was able to retrieve some of my former memories and not to say return the others, but incorporate the old for its practical purpose, for its intended recognition and remembrance. It reminded me of, well, for instance, I woke up out of my sleep, within my sleep, in my
Right.
sleep. So in my dream, I was sleeping and dreaming. In my dream, I was dreaming.
Right.
So I woke up in my dream and knew that I was still asleep, that I was not awoke yet,
Right.
you know? So it was so when I woke up, I was telling myself, I was, reminding myself to remember that I recognized myself as being asleep within my dream. And I
Uh-huh.
awoke in my dream to remember that I was still asleep.
Ah.
And when I
Good.
woke,
Blooded,
I
baby, right?
remembered it.
Right.
Huh?
You say cold blooded. You cold blooded with it. It's awesome.
It
Yeah.
was it was crazy. So I was telling myself to remember that I did that
Right. Yeah.
because
Right. Right.
because remember, formerly, like I said, when I was a younger person, when I was first learning to fly, I didn't know I was
Right.
learning to fly, but I would do things like jump off the top of the highest step at the top of the landing. I'd jump down, but I would float down. I would fly down. I felt like I was flying. So I kept doing that, and that was fun.
Right.
But at some point, I challenged myself to jump off of a building. And,
Okay.
and then at some point, I was on top of an airplane and flying from the outside of the airplane. And so I kept flying, to the point where sometimes I would run and jump. I kept learning different ways to fly. And
Uh-huh.
so eventually I got to the place where I learned to fly. This is in my dream, from jumping, standing still.
Uh,
And I
yes.
would just I would just give myself, like leaps and bounds. Like I would leap in the air just by, going crouching down and, popping up. And from there I would have liftoff.
Like Neo.
Oh, okay.
One of those
So
matrices, he did the same thing.
okay. So yeah, so that was basically me giving myself flying lessons, and not knowing that I was learning to fly. At
Right.
some point I was trying to pilot. I went through different forms and versions of what flight was. Sometimes it was float, and sometimes it was like jump from something high, and then sometimes it was jump up from something low, you know. So it felt as though I was doing a lot of um, training. But I only am now able to see the fact that it was training, because now I know, as to whom I am now. I'm now comparing it to the recognition of that when I was in my dream and sleep, and I awoke from sleep within my dream, that I recognized that I was still asleep. So now that's like another level of recognition that I'll now get into. Like when I was laughing, and I said I was laughing at myself, laughing at myself, laughing at myself. I feel like that's the kind of amplification that it gave. Like, from the minuscule micro to the big picture of, the fullness thereof. So, in any case, Ashe,
Acheo.
Ashe. So I think it's
Acheo.
time for me to move on to the next thing. I don't. Uh, it's about quarter after one. And we started maybe at about
Yeah.
11:30. So 1:30 would make it 2 hours. But in any case, I'm exhausted. I've been pulling out nuggets. I feel like I need to go lay down and re-energize, recharge my battery. There's a big afternoon for me. Big things going on. I'll be doing a performance as well. And when I perform, that's very exhausting for me, because tuning into the music, I tune into every instrument that's played. I'm trying to fit in what my words are and my notes and jump in like double dutch, you know, rocking back and forth. You know, there was a lot of newness going on yesterday. There was a new freedom that was given to me in that case. And yes, it took me to a new place, a new height, a new level of, you know, I did record it. I did do a live. So there is a version on my, on Love+Art equals wellness of that first set.
Uh-huh.
That was pretty good. And I did
Okay.
interview at the end of it. Do you remember with the sax and I had the phone? That was it. That was at the end of the live.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. So before heading out, we'd like to state a few things.
okay.
It's like a parade of some horns going by, somebody being announced down the street. That
Oh,
any horns, but
oh
that's
yeah.
yeah,
There's probably some voting, or it may be Memorial Day related. Either.
maybe right here in the Hillcrest Heights community of Southeast Washington D.C. in the so-called capital of the free world. We are transmitting.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Hold on a moment. Turn the camera up to do a little high pace. So you know. Mhm. Okay. So just a little what we got from that. Using some of the programming to serve your purpose. When you're speaking about, again, about the marbles being lost and some things you got back weren't you, but you assimilated them because you figured we can use it. And a good analogy of that for my person is Christianity. At one point, the left says we ain't doing that no more because it don't serve the ascension purposes. But somewhere along the journey, my person understood and saw the value in it, why I was introduced to it, and now it used that program of Christianity just in a slightly different way. So it used that program to serve, just like many other things, which is why my person says that it is a Christian, hermetic Christian. The next thing was all of our experiences are training. This is something my person holds and was just being reminded of. Every experience that we have is we're being prepared for the next experience. Every experience, which is why it's a lesson and or a blessing. The blessing saying you prepare for the next experience. This is my person's philosophy. The blessing will suggest that you are prepared for the next experience, as well as the lesson will say that this is what you have to do to prepare for the next experience to be successful. Um, which ties into taking more notes. Says take more notes because this dream is slow enough to get the lessons/insights right now and now time. My person also holds that this is a simulation, it's a dream, it is mentalism, it's all mental. Oh, she's back. Add to the stage.
Thank you.
Indeed, good thanks for coming back. So yeah, so you spoke about the program and using some of that. The next thing you first spoke about was, or my person got was all of our experiences is training. Again, that's something that it holds that every experience is either a lesson or a blessing. Every experience, the blessing says that we're ready for the next one. We're ready to evolve. We got it. And we keep the blessing. But the lesson says this is what you do prepare for the next experience. And so if the next experience is a blessing, then you're saying, okay, we got the lesson. So then that's how you keep getting the blessings by looking at everything as a lesson and a blessing at the same time. So that's what my person got when you said the experiences train you for it. All my person, it was this my personal story. That's why I tell you a story, the details, because those details has been trained in my person for this. ISC, the Temple Mother Earth, the Empowerment Center, Metropolitan Baptist Church, all of it, Howard University Israelite. So that's why the importance of that, which led to, as we calm down again, that's real time, real watching, observing, which led into take more notes because his dream is slow enough to get lessons, insights, in now time. My person sees also the simulation, mentalism, holographic universe, holographic mind, multiverse. It's a dream. It's just very slow. The same as an astral. It's a dream. And so the more now my person becomes as a child, it becomes lucid right now. And what my person calls waking trance, being in gateway right now. And so by jotting down notes, what my person doing now is jotting down notes of this dream. And the more that we look and jot down notes, we master this. And then anyway, moving on. And the last thing that came up was Dr. U and relaxing. So Dr. U has been saying for years about relaxing. When you relax, he said, when you relax on the drum, whatever drum you're playing, in African drumming, probably all just same as you. This way it came when you talk about the band. When you relax, is a sexy phonus as well. He said when but the drum is more challenging because it's new, and because it's new, the drum my person playing specifically now, it's the right hand is usually playing the stick, and the left hand usually plays the bell. It's similar to playing the piano where you have the bass, and then you have the melody and the solos while the bass is going. So with that the analogy, the left hand is like the time is the bass. It's just like it has a pattern going, and the stick does the boom, the solos, the accents off in there. And having to listen to African drumming, which you're not familiar with, sometimes it all just sounds like some. There's nothing. It's just banging on something. It sounds good, but we don't know who's doing what. And to hold your part steady and keep saying relax, because when you relax, if you know your part, which we've gone over, you know your part, right? When you relax, you know, you won't you won't get too far gone because when you're not relaxed, you're thinking about something. You may be even thinking about the rhythm. What does it sound like? How does this part sound with that part? Which is happening a lot of times. We could be actually thinking about we hear our part. Now we hear this. How does this fit with that? And if we get too caught up in that, it's a slight he said, Dr. says a slight delay because of that thought. But however, if you keep thinking, that slight delay will eventually end up in you drag, or you may think that you're off because you're thinking too hard and says, "Oh, let's speed up," because he said play on top of the rhythm. Says, "Oh, let's play on top of the rhythm," and you may speed up. But he said that if you relax, since you know what to do, you'll be right in the pocket. And my person is beginning to experience more of that. And it notice the vibration when it feels that, it does feel very relaxed. And it feels the presence of that inner child because we're fun and we're slightly moving. We just moving. And sometimes we may move a little bit more, but he even says even too much moving can cause you either for extra fatigue or it can cause a delay if you get too caught up because you're too excited. My person get excited if you can't tell. So and he's been telling these things over the years. So when your person just shared that about being performance, and we both performed last night, it was a reminder that every experience, even this conversation, is training how to be relaxed, so not to get too excited when you're so passionate about how all of you what you know how to be is showing up in the experiences, and you're able to say this experience is a example
One
of the
love.
principle. All right, I guess that's the time to stop. Okay, one love and wellness. There you go. Good, give thanks. So there you go. So again, we wanted to share that.
You
Just
disappeared for a second. That was why I said one love. You from my screen. I don't know if it will be in the recording or not, but
oh,
my apologies. I was trying to call your signal back.
right. And so this is really the closer here as we share how the teachings that we share for us on how to be manifest in now time as what the spirit says. You keep saying bring the notepad and pen. So we brought the notepad and got a pen from here, which is beautiful. And as we became obedient to what spirit says do, now even more insight came because part of the responsibilities, as your person mentioned earlier, is to listen without the interruption, hear the full story through. Because not only will the person sharing the story is able to get more information, nuggets, and insight from the story, my person is able to benefit also because 9 times out of 9, if my person is open enough, there's a correlation of a similar experience. Sometimes it's so direct that it's right there on the surface. However, sometimes it's so subtle we have to sit back because it was slightly different and we have to see the principle that was involved, not the actual detail. That's why it's good for my person to see the principle. And so the principle is here is back to allowing precious mother love and any other one to fully share their stories and sharing because it's organic. It's organic. It's organic. It's organic. And organic things happen when you're just being organic that are like miraculous or blessings because we're right here and there right now, allowing whatever to happen, which is why my person, the cell phone now, when departing the sister on yesterday from the session was like, again, what we shared out loud was when we work for God, we are where we're supposed to be all the time. And shared that with the band leader, before we started. It was like, that's what we shared with her. We work for God. Said the consultation. It was like, oh yeah, man, I dig it. This is what you do. You're doing your thing. Which is why again it confirmed even walking. At some point, my person kept looking back for a bus to come. At the same time, looking for a bus, it says, look here, if you walk these 3 blocks, even 3 blocks, walk the 3 blocks, there's time for you to integrate what you just experienced and to process into transition to the next experience. That what was said. While at the same time, we were still even this is funny. This is why it's important to share your story. This is what we left out earlier. It was like because we had some cash at that time. We said got five. Saw a couple giving it. I got $5 for a ride 3 blocks down the street. We were on the bus coming before we started walking. We just started walking 3 blocks. $5 for 3 blocks down the street. First, they want to roll the window down. My person already knew it. Say, nigga, just keep walking. But the ego. Well, maybe, maybe there's a chance. They got to hear it first. Hear it. We get excited because sometimes it's good to get excited because it's for the purpose of being dramatic, of the excitement of how we was express how we was feeling at that time. It's like it's only minutes. Maybe. Then she rolled the window down the better side, top on the other side. Kind of overweight, obese in a sense. Not to say that it has anything to do with it, but it does. It's his lifestyle. He don't care. He don't care. Say, nah, brother, we're going down here and make a U-turn. He said, give thanks for the confirmation. Walk your ass on down there. Even though we still look for it like at least 2 other times. Then finally we said, okay, we halfway there now. At least can we at least get to halfway and just do some integration? They're like, okay, do the integration halfway there. And then that's when we said, okay, there's some people outside. It looks like that they're outside where we're going. And we're just casually walking. So just wanted to give that fuller insight to that story to share the details because, again, it's on the job training on how the principles, of you work for God. Wherever you get to where you're going, you're on God's time. And so in the process of where you're going, always use that time to, a minute to debrief, integrate, and to prepare. So when you get to where you're going next, you're relaxed so that you can be organic and you're not concerned with, am I, too late for something? Too late, because that vibration takes one out of gateway. So that experience yesterday was a reminder of how to stay in gateway, which is if we say, hey, you work for God, take your time. Don't be saying I'm late, look for rides, pay $5. Don't do that. If you do it, you can. You just won't be in gateway.
Gateway would be somebody pulling up and say, brother, you got a saxophone. Look like you about to play. You don't happen to be going to that party we about to go 2-3 blocks down the street. And you would say, yeah, brother, how you know? Something told me to stop and talk to the man with the saxophone.
Ache. Yep. So this is on the job. This is what on the job training looks like. Divine beings. Just telling our story of on the job training, of being that what we know. And being reminded through discussions, and encouraging each other, It's a very soulful way of being.
It is. It is. It's very opening. It's not as closed as I once felt. At some point in religion, I felt that it like it was a box, and
Yeah,
that was my experience of God. But now my experience of God is more like an open box. Like there's really no box, but all the benefits.
yeah. That's it. That's it. Jay, all right, y'all. That's what we're carrying from here on out. From here on out. So give thanks for that affirmation.
Ashe, Ashe.
That is simply
Ooh,
with our
ooh,
hearts and
ooh.
minds. So it is, so shall it be. It's just that simple. Because
Yes.
we are it. How does my person know? Because I am it, and so are you. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Yes,
are.
you are.
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
you are.
Yes, you
Another embodiment of Christ consciousness. When we commune and gain, remember these things and do
are.
these
And
things in remembrance of you. Do these things and remember these things in remembrance of you. God in the flesh.
Ashe.
I tell you,
Remembering ourselves. I did not welcome my heart happy hour family to the equation. I know that they've been there off and on, and I appreciate you guys for hanging in there. And I know, this is the fifth season, so you're seeing more and more different versions of things of me. So, I'm expanding the viewership, the fact that you can see how a goddess lives. But later today, I will be doing another live, and I will be performing again amongst some folks and family that I do an annual thing with, Memorial Weekend. So I will be back on live shortly. And I thank you for joining us
all
again
right.
on Soulful Sunday version of Heart Happy Hour and Love plus Art equals Wellness. Thank you, Master Chef. Precious Mother Love. One love and wellness.
Indeed, indeed. Until the next hour, commune.
One
Peace and
love.
wholeness.